So in the previous video, oh, I want to make sure this is on. Yep. So in the previous video, I talked about allowing emotions and pain to be felt. And to go and to really like step into that is first to get in touch with them, and you need like a level of awareness to allow emotions and pain to be felt. First of all, we need to be tuned in to how we feel and to be tuned in with our bodies and where the pain is, and to be with it. Because a lot of the time when people have chronic disorders and all that, a lot of these people, and this was me before, is we're just checked out. We're checked out of our bodies. We don't really know how to listen. We don't have this awareness, and it requires you to be vulnerable. It requires you to be super vulnerable and honest with how you're feeling and where you're at in your life. To be vulnerable, because we cannot heal without being vulnerable. Can't do it. And I'll tell you this story with myself and how not being vulnerable had made things a lot worse. So when I had IBS and Candida, I was not vulnerable. I was still stuck in my head. I was stuck in my ego, and at the time when I had IBS, I was kind of stuck in this rat race of like doing the next thing, controlling who I was dating, and just being super controlling about everything. And I was young and I didn't know. If someone told me like it'd be different, but I was just kind of really unconscious to the whole thing. I was so unconscious. Like my stomach would hurt and I'd be completely like, I would know that it would hurt, and I'd know that I feel like crap, but then I would just go on like that and be like, oh, I hate this, and then I would go and do whatever I can with my diet, and drink my teas and all that stuff, but I was just checked out. I was unconscious with where things were, and really it's about becoming vulnerable and to become aware of your thoughts and your feelings. Right? So like it's hard to know what our thoughts are, because we have 1,000, like so many thoughts, like 1,000,000 thoughts a day, especially if your mind is racing. That's okay, but we know how we feel. So it could be like you feel stressed, you feel angry, you feel upset, you feel whatever it is. To really feel that, which is what I talked about in the last video. And to be present with that feeling and to start to become aware of when's the last time we felt like that. Was it yesterday? Or what triggers that feeling? Is it every time that this happens? Is it every time that like what is it? Like what is the event in that day or previous to your trigger to make you feel like that? Because if you can start getting into the physical sensation and the emotion in your chest and your stomach, wherever you feel it, and you can start to make these patterns, like you're aware of these patterns of how it happens, you can actually just go all the way back. So it's like, yes, your stomach hurts. When's the last time your stomach hurts? Were you feeling that emotion then? And if you were feeling angry and upset then, or you're controlling right now or whatever, when was the last time that you felt like that? And then you can start to be like, and you really need to feel this out, because the first answer that comes up is the answer. So it could be, so for me at the time when I had IBS, I was in school, and I'll give you an example. I was in school and I was stressed out because I needed to do things perfectly. I needed to do my schoolwork perfectly, and there was just so much pressure because I was afraid of failing. And I was afraid of failing because that was my worthiness. Like, all of my self-esteem, my worthiness, my identity was based on how well I did. And a lot of it too was I had no confidence. I had no confidence in how well I would perform because I had so much shame in my childhood. I was told that it was never going to be good enough, and then I always believed that I was never good enough. Really, it's the shame. I feel like a lot of IBS is there's so much shame there. If we can become vulnerable with that, if you could just be vulnerable with how you actually feel about yourself and the events that are happening in your stomach and all that. Because people with stomach problems, we have confidence issues. We have shame and guilt and anger and all that, just all there. And so if you can get in touch with, okay, I feel sad or I feel angry. Why do you feel angry? I feel frustrated because this person is doing something, right? What are they doing? Why does that make you upset? What are you afraid of? Start to explore what it is about things that shake you like that, right? And it usually roots back to shame. I'm afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of not being good enough. I'm afraid of not being worthy. I'm afraid, like, right? And I made a video, doing versus being. That's probably a good resource video to watch. So I would, this video is about stepping into vulnerability and starting to become aware of how you're feeling and just connecting with that, because if we've never done that before, it could be difficult. So I don't want to go too crazy with this video. Being vulnerable is already it's already hard enough, right? A lot of the time we're wearing a mask and we have this ego, right? This identity, this social identity that for me, I was hiding a lot behind like my accomplishments and like just my fashion and my looks and whatever. I was really hiding behind that and really just being really stuck up and controlling with whoever I was dating, or controlling with whatever I can, just to hide my confidence issues. So so for me to like take off my mask and be like, wow, I really feel like crap about myself. I'm just really upset with myself and in my life. I mean, if we can't be vulnerable, then we can't start to heal the emotional root issues. And we don't really know how we feel. So in the next video, I'm going to share with you more about some struggles I had, or some challenges I had with what I was going through in my life. And we're all kind of in the same way with people with IBS. We all have a very similar childhood, similar way on how we cope, how we think, how we're dealing with our emotions, the resistance that we have. And yeah, so I'll see you in the next video.